Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Healthy CEO. Today, we are traveling all the way to Basel, Switzerland for our interview. Actually, it's virtual. I wish so bad I could have done it on location, but we might just have to do that in the future. So today's guests are Ramona Roemer and Andreas Heigl. They're the co-founders of VimedCell, which is in Switzerland as well as Germany. And they're also the authors of Unlongevity, which is an excellent take on something that I think is happening right now that we can see is that in our endeavors to completely optimize our health, I know I have fallen victim to this where you just get so obsessed with making sure that you get the sauna in, you get the cold plunge in, you make sure your macros are dialed in, you make sure you have the perfect mix of resistance training. And then when it comes to cardio, you make sure you got enough VO2 max, and then you got enough zone 2 steady state. And then all of a sudden you hear, wait a minute, you shouldn't be doing all that zone 2. Really, you just need to be focusing on HIIT workouts. And then all of a sudden, what about your gut health? And before you know it, you are just stressing yourself out trying to optimize your health. And you lose sight of the big picture, which is, yeah, you want to be healthy. You want to dial into health span, but you also want to enjoy your life, right? You want to have meaning behind your life. And that is exactly what Ramona and Andreas are trying to discover or help other people discover in their new book. So here is who they are. Ramona Roemer and Andreas Heigl are co-founders of VimedCell, a private longevity clinic based in Switzerland and Germany. Together, they work closely with high-performing individuals across diverse cultural and personal contexts, combining advanced diagnostics and cell-based therapies with cognitive, emotional, energetic, and purpose-oriented perspectives. Their work is shaped by years of hands-on experience with highly individualized cases, revealing a recurring pattern: people doing more for their health, yet experiencing less clarity. Their book, Unlongevity, challenges the assumptions driving modern longevity culture and offers an integrative alternative. Rather than adding more protocols, their approach focuses on discernment, timing, and alignment, helping individuals move beyond fragmented health optimization toward a more integrated and sustainable state of coherence. These are some of the sweetest, kindest, and most interesting folks I've had on the show. I know you're going to enjoy this conversation. And hey, if you would, please, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, click like or subscribe. I want to grow this channel. I want to get all these guests that I'm interviewing and this great information out to as many people as possible. So don't only subscribe to it, but share this with somebody who you think might could use it. I guarantee you, you know someone out there that is so obsessed with biohacking and getting everything just right and trying to be the next Ben Greenfield or Brian Johnson that you want to tell them, just chill out and enjoy your life. Well, this might be a good episode for them. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast, please consider leaving a 5-star rating. And the last thing, I'm not even going to do a big read. I just want to let you know, this episode is sponsored by Authentic Health. This is the supplementation stack that I take every single day to close the gaps on my nutritional deficiencies. Check it out at shopauthentic.health.com. And if you use promo code Jason, you are going to get 10% off of your order. That's all I'm going to say about it. Now let's get to the show. I know you're going to enjoy it. Thank you so much for listening to The Healthy CEO. Enjoy. Andreas and Ramona, welcome to The Healthy CEO. How are you doing?
Well, doing great. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for the invite.
Well,
Have a wonderful day.
It's my pleasure. Now, where are you guys, where are we speaking from today?
So we are located in Switzerland, here in the northwestern part of Switzerland, a city called Basel.
Oh, you're in Basel. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's a kind of the Silicon Valley for pharmaceutical industry.
For sure, for sure. Well, I tell you what, okay, so here's the deal. Anytime I have a Swiss guest, then we have to have a in-person interview in Switzerland at some point, okay? That'll just be our gentleman's agreement that at some point I get to come out in Switzerland because that's a little prettier and I guarantee it's a little cooler than it is here in East Texas over here in the States.
All right, yeah.
Right. Yeah, of course, you're welcome. You're almost welcome to come.
Well, wonderful. And how cool is it that we get to do this? I guess it's 7 o'clock at night or so around over there, right?
Yeah, it's around 8 o'clock now.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
8 o'clock.
8 p.m.
Okay, well, terrific. Well, good deal. Well, I'm so glad to have you guys. And one of the main things we're going to be talking about is your new book, Unlongevity, Escaping Optimization Culture to Restore Health, Meaning, and a Life That Fits. Did I get the whole title right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Well, before we started recording, one of the things I told you guys that I was excited about having this conversation for is the fact that this is something that I think is important. I know I have gone through this myself. I probably started the whole biohacking, health optimization, functional medicine, integrated health, all this, I'd say probably 3 to 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And what I found is what comes with that at some point is going to be a lot of stress, a lot of kind of going a little, you almost kind of defeat the purpose of longevity when you bring in this stress of making sure, if you're an Apple Watch person, you're closing your rings. Now it's Whoop and you're maintaining a perfect sleep score. I still obsess over my sleep score. I think, wearables are a phenomenal tool for your health and wellness, but they can also be a great stressor. So I've actually been looking at some of this and trying to apply it into my own life to kind of chill out, relax, and remember that longevity isn't that great if you don't enjoy this long ride that you're creating for yourself. So you guys are tapping into that. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. And whichever one of you wants to start, Ramona, Andreas, it doesn't matter. Tell me about kind of either one of your journey that led you to deciding that this is something we need to talk about. We need to have a global conversation on this whole health and optimization idea and how it can be taken a little too far and we forget the real things that matter in life. What made you decide to write this book?
Yeah, well, I don't know, normally ladies first, but
it's okay.
I don't know, maybe I start first tonight. So I think I'll probably describe myself as pretty observational. I've always been interested in, let's say, patterns, why things work, why they don't work, and what sits beneath this, what sits beneath the surface. So over the years, that curiosity, I would say, gradually evolved into the work that we do today. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we kept noticing, and that's interesting, since we're running this clinic now for almost 20 years, is that people who come to our clinic in Switzerland, they are not wellness beginners. They are doing a lot for their longevity, for their health, and they often among, I would say, these are personalities. They run companies, they lead teams, they build things that matter. And many of them are doing extraordinary things for their health on paper. They do tracking, supplementing, biohacking, just as you explained. And yet something for them feels off. Mm-hmm. So their energy when they come to us isn't matching their effort. Their sharpness is slipping. Yes. And they're achieving more but feeling less. Mm-hmm. And that pattern, we started seeing it again and again, over and over. And maybe I hand over to you.
Yes. Yeah. So I think the good thing about Andreas and me, we complement each other. We don't always have the same perspective. We come from a different perspective each, but we all have the underlying philosophy that we share for sure. And maybe just to say a bit like who I am. So I describe myself as someone who is very curious about people. And I've been always interested in why two people can do seemingly similar things and have completely different experiences and results or outcomes, right? Right. So outside of work, I would say we're pretty normal people. We have 3 children, a dog, spend a lot of time driving kids to sports, and like most people, we're constantly trying to find a healthy balance between work, family, and everything else that throws at us. But over the time, what gradually changed our perspective was realizing that health couldn't be understood through biology alone. So over the years, we kept seeing that two people, like I said and before, two people, they could have very similar laboratory findings and respond completely different. So the same intervention could produce remarkable progress in one person and very limited change in another. So that's when we began recognizing that factors like recovery capacity, relationships, cognitive patterns, environment, and overall life direction were influencing outcomes far more than people realize.
Absolutely.
And at VimedCell, we were already focusing on identifying underlying causes rather than simply managing symptoms. But this observation gradually expanded our understanding of health beyond biology alone. And I think that evolution became one of the driving forces also behind longevity.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's really, it's interesting because that ties right into, I guess it was Harvard that did the massive longevity study. And what they found were things like solid relationships and social interaction. I was just having this conversation with my wife last night. Her grandmother, who is, had some issues here of late with lethargy, and her energy levels are low and everything. And I said, one of the good things about Nana, that's what we call her. I said, one of the good things about Nana is that she is very social. She has friends that will come visit her. I said, so if she were isolated, because Jimlyn was like, she was kind of worried that her grandmother was feeling a little depressed, but I think that's just because she's going through some struggles. And I said, yeah, I could certainly see that, but thank goodness she does have social interaction. So I think it's something that I'm glad that and I needed to know that, because I was probably, if I had gone to your clinic, I would be that entrepreneur, type A personality, hard charger that thinks that I am going to do everything you prescribe, and then I'm going to go just a little harder just to make sure, if one is good, two's probably better. And There was a time in my own, especially my physical fitness, where I would think that, and I just said this yesterday during an interview, I used to think that I had to do a soul crushing workout every morning before 7 a.m. I tried to get 1,000 active calories burned. And I tell you what, guys, after about a year, I probably aged myself by 2 years. I mean, I looked terrible. I was really thin and gaunt, and just, my wife couldn't stand it. She's like, you've got to chill out. But I get it. So I've kind of lived this, and I'm going through that phase where I'm trying to peel away. And then one of the things that I noticed about just doing the research on your book, which comes out August 16th, do I have that right?
11th August, yes.
Okay, almost. Okay, 11th of August. Okay, very good. So just looking at it, it looks like you have 5 main, it's like your framework is kind of built around biology, which we discussed a little bit right then, Ramona, cognition, emotion, energy, and purpose. And this cognition one, I think, is so important because, like you said, the people that you're seeing, these are individuals that are doing things outside of your clinic that require enhanced cognition. You have to really up your game. And so I got to believe that a lot of these folks, if they come to you and they're like, they're kind of foggy or something like that, even though they're doing all the right things, all the right supplementation, they're thinking, what the heck is going on? So let's talk a little bit about how kind of pushing too hard can start to impact cognition as well.
Right. Maybe we give an example that we have, right? So we had a client and he was a founder of a business that was really scaling up like crazy, and who came to us after pushing through 3 years of relentless growth. He built something remarkable, and he'd also systemically depleted his biology to do it. So he was supplementing aggressively, tracking obsessively, but making decisions that were getting worse and not better. So the thing is, though, he didn't realize that. It was actually his team that had noticed that, and his clarity had slipped. And when he came to us, he told us, I don't understand. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to.
Yeah. And well, he came to us, we checked, and during our diagnostic work, it revealed that this chronic cortisol dysregulation and systematic inflammation, it had been accumulating beneath the surface of his functional performance, and this for years. So the body had compensated like so often for a very long time, but only, until it couldn't anymore. So the supplements per se, they were not wrong. They were not the wrong piece. It was more the sequence of the supplements. And he had been adding stimulants and performance enhancers on top of a foundation that, needed recovery. So not more input. That's often what we see. Sometimes less is more. And so we stripped the stack back significantly, addressed the root level incoherence, and within, I think 12, 13 weeks, his cognitive performance measurably improved.
Yeah. And then to your point, because you said that with all the different areas that you need to take into consideration, with this person, we saw, okay, the first the first area that we need to go to is the biological health. But what's really important, what you have to notice in the beginning is you cannot just jump into it. You first have to understand what is the priority, what does this person need first? What do you need to take away maybe, or what you need to take care of maybe? And only when you know that, only then you should be acting. And we see nowadays a lot of times that when people or when someone goes somewhere, a lot of times they just follow a standardized protocol, even though they look at you individually, but they still follow a standardized protocol, but not seeing, hey, this person, if I stack another load onto his system, can the system actually take it? Or do I actually have to see this person and say, emotionally, he's completely unstable, and I should address that first before I can actually do something to his biology.
Yeah. And that's why maybe just to add one more thing to emphasize, the 5 axis, Jason, that you mentioned in the beginning, that's what we do. I mean, it's not a standardized protocol to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have to go through this all. First, we really need to see what's the burning point, what's the most important of these 5 axes, and then focus on that one first.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I find curious, because obviously there's cultural differences between the U.S. and Switzerland, and it sounds to me like to get an understanding to try to, yes, you know the biological impact, but then to try to get to some of those emotional stressors, whether it could be home, work, any number of things, I would think you have to really start to kind of peel back the onion in behavioral health, environmental health, a lot of other factors that, let's face it, a lot of integrative medical clinics aren't going to necessarily go to. How do you get those? And again, I'm thinking again from the American perspective, kind of this probably type A, very much achiever type individual coming in and get them to, and how do you get them to admit, yeah, I'm probably putting a little too much on myself. My marriage is falling apart. My kids won't speak to me. My employees are frustrated with me. I'm crushing it. I'm making a fortune and I look healthy, but I know I'm messed up. How do you start to peel back that onion and get these folks to answer what I've got to believe are some pretty tough questions?
Right. So it's not that we're going to ask questions directly to what we perceive. Normally, when people come to us, we already welcome them. So they come with a chauffeur, a driver, whatever. They get out of the car. It's already the first interaction. You see how does that person react. We're having stares at our place.
You see how they're getting out of the car first,
Yes.
so physically.
Yes.
So yeah.
And how they are emotional, just like the whole personality. So you really start observing a person right from the beginning, but we're not asking the question because for some people they don't want to talk about it, and that we respect. And it needs to be the person coming to us to say it. What we can see, we can sense a few things. Also, when they tell us, for example, a pain is a classic one because pain is easy, right? You feel, okay, I have knee pain, I have to get rid of it. So that's the first where they would open up to us, because they want this pain away. So it's quite simple. But then in the beginning, before we even start treatment, we first ask a lot of questions. We're asking, okay, when did the pain start? Sometimes there are traumatic events during the time where the pain has actually come. And we have like a team where we're really like asking a lot of questions. We ask a lot about family history. So we have just questions, but not for the person to feel like, oh my God, I have to open my book now to everyone, because nobody wants to do that. And that's fine. And that we respect. And I think it's a lot about this trust building in the beginning. For us, I mean, we are in this situation where it's a lot about word of mouth. So the people that come to us, we have been recommended to them. So that is already the first barrier, right? But then they still need to start saying, okay, do I really trust that nose that's sitting in front of us? And that's basically where we pick them up. So not confronting them, we respect. For someone, it's really like they are an open book and they don't stop talking about it. And others, they just don't want to reveal.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too that I believe is kind of tough. I know that this would be tough for me. I've dealt with this. I had my very first little kind of injury last year of any significance that kind of really slowed me for, several weeks. And so I felt like I had really lost something by not being able to train as effectively. And then going through the process of, all right, whenever I do heal, I'm going to have to put some things to the side, which for me, like a great example was doing deadlifts. I just don't need to do deadlifts any longer. The risk of injury is not worth any reward there's other things I can do, but it was hard to give that up. Do you find that it's harder for your clients to give up certain activities or to add to? I mean, it seems like how do they handle, and do you have that conversation whenever you tell them, hey, for example, you're running, I'm just pulling a number out of the air, you're running, and you guys are in Europe, you're running 10, 15 kilometers a week, maybe you need to pull it back to 5 and do something else. Is there resistance there? Like, where do you, or do you have resistance from your clients? Are they pretty accepting to whatever, after you've gone through the kind of the general observation, you've questioned them, you understand their biology? What are some of the things, is it harder to add to or take away from your clients?
Yeah, I think, well, for most of them, first of all, it's harder to take away because they run their health like they run their companies and their structure, you know, they run it by KPIs. And that's why they like this biohacking and lab values, because this gives something that they love data. But data is just one portion. And as we said, you need to see this in the whole, in the whole context. So what's then making it often easy for them to understand based on data? When they eat lots of supplements, take lots of supplements, and we see that their values are totally off, and we need to bring them back to a baseline. We're not saying they shouldn't take supplements. What we're saying, they should take the ones that they really need, what they need, and maybe the best quality of it, and then measure it again, check it again. But this is then often where they understand, okay, maybe another one is not better, maybe to take it away is maybe a better thing to do.
And it's maybe also, it depends on what phase of life they are in. So there are some that have just starting to notice that this over-optimization did not really lead them anywhere and something is off. But this admitting at that point in life is difficult. And that's where we say, hey, that's fine, because they are at this time in life and they need to understand themselves. So what we can do, we can give our explanations, we can say what we think would be best, but not trying to be a teacher to say you got to do X, Y, and Z, because that's where everybody just flocks. So for some, it just takes a little bit longer. We see them again in a year or half a year or 2 years, whenever. And for others, they have a cry for help that from the outside you wouldn't see it, but they actually were just waiting for someone to give them the permission that they could just stop certain things or that they should change certain things. And here I'm not talking about you have to go and sit and meditate and this, not at all. It's just like, I don't know how, and I don't know, I feel weak if I would say it now. So we have the people on a different life phases.
No, I totally get that. And that's one of the things that I always tell people, like, so I still do cold plunge and sauna, and cold plunge is one of those things that, I mean, yes, it's, I all the benefits that, especially those of us on this call, we know the benefits of cold plunge. And whenever people, if they ask me, do I do it? Yes, I do it every day, but it's not a panacea. And by the way, one of the things and they're like, well, should I be doing it? I'm like, I don't know. I can tell you this, and this is something that I came to probably within the last year. I will tell folks, if it causes you so much stress, great example, my wife. Jimlyn does not want to do the cold plunge. It just, she's tried and it's just miserable. And I'm like, then don't do it, because the misery and the stress you're putting on yourself is never going to be worth any benefits you're going to get by doing cold plunge. It's the same thing with a lot of these things. And then do you guys, because like you mentioned it, I know that your clients have to love data. That's the thing. I'm a very metric driven guy. I've kind of gotten away from that so much. Other than what my aura tells me, I'm pretty much just going to do my deal. I'm going to check my body fat. I'm going to do a VO2 max test every once in a while, but really I'm not going to go nuts. Have you been able to show them that, hey, look, 20% of your health and wellness is, 80% of it rather is being driven by 20% of your activities. So therefore there's 60 things you're doing that really aren't giving you what you think. Is that a way that they start to click and go, oh, because now you've kind of flipped the script on them. Now it's like, okay, well, we're going to really optimize this by showing you the 20% of the things you need to be doing for the 80% good outcome. Does that kind of speak to them? And if there is something that's like universally, that's that 20% input that you've seen with your patients, what are they? So that this audience knows, well, crap, if there's 20% of the things that these type folks are doing that can get 80% of the outcomes, I'm here for it. What are some of those things?
Yeah, I think it comes back. The easy thing is on the data to get them or to get their trust. Okay, everybody is different, but like the lab values. Once they see, they are right because my values are getting better and I'm feeling better, and then this is when they're opening more up, I would say.
Yeah, I would say that so for us, for our guests that we have, if they are still in the thing where they think they need to push the button, so I do that and then this will happen, they most likely won't be sitting at our in our rooms. Because the thing is, like, we're not giving them this push the button and this is working for everyone. This we don't give, because in the end we're talking about our bodies, individual bodies, and we're looking at how can we get the body to a self-healing procedure. Again, procedure is wrong.
Well, self-healing mechanism.
Self-healing mechanism, exactly. So that is our objective, because our bodies, they can do a lot of things, and actually they are not dumb. So even if you think you have the greatest hack, the body one day will just make something that's completely out of context, and you're completely puzzled what happened, because according to the data it's supposed to be X, Y, and Z. I mean, you cannot hack your body. It outsmarts you sooner or later. So I would say for those that are on this journey, and which is okay because everybody has to go the way they choose to go, but that expect to push the button and it's all about the data, you most likely don't find them in our rooms. They are already past that, and they may still be a bit having one foot in it, but they already understood, for me, that doesn't work out anymore.
Yeah. And that makes total sense. I know that, so one of my daughters is a type 1 diabetic, and that is one of the, if ever there is a disease that will show you that you can't just dial it in and everything's right, because you can do all the right things. And she's, bless her heart, she's got enough of her dad in her that she tries to be like so perfect on, okay, if you tell me this is how many carbs I can have and how much protein, she does that. And yet you can do that and it can be great. Her A1C will be just pristine for a while, and then boom, just kind of goes nuts. Nothing changes. To your point, her body has just said, we're gonna do something different, and there's nothing you can do about that. Right. One of the things that I want to talk about here, because I think this is one of the things that a lot of people lose sight of, and you just guys take this wherever you want to, and how you kind of came to this as part of your, the discussion that you bring up and you double click on with your clients is purpose. Is like, understand, how do you kind of peel back that, and what made that a part of your practice to think, I mean, because I and the reason why I ask is because I used to train as though I was going to participate in a triathlon that I never was. I'm not going to do an Ironman. I have no desire. I'm not going to do a high rocks. That's just not my jam. So I'm really just training for life. I'm just training for being able to be 85, 90, whatever, and still pick up my grandbabies and have fun and go on hikes.
Right.
Kind of take me through what gave you guys this insight to think that, no one's talking about purpose when it comes to optimizing their health and wellness. When did that revelation come about? I
mean, I don't know. For us,
we're so excited. We both want to jump right into it.
It started a long time ago. Now we do this now since almost 20 years, but we started the interest much earlier. But then we started first like in the so to say medical field. So we started where lots of people start nowadays with with the lab values, with medical testing. We've been open right from the beginning, not just for school medicine, but also for natural practitioners and for energy medicine. So we've been quite open right from the beginning. But we figured out, we said in the intro that you can have two cases, almost they look the same. And they have the same issue. I mean, there's no 100% in life, but let's put them close to 100%. And the treatment works for them, but not for the other. So that brought us to, why is this? How can this be? And this, that's where we started the journey to look into much more things.
And I would also add, so it's this on the professional experience, but then also personal, it was the same thing, because we are in our field, we have the credo, we try everything first. So we have dealt with a lot of things, and also our friends and relatives, and they are still our friends. So,
and that's also important. We would never do something that we wouldn't do to ourselves.
Yes.
I think that's very important.
Yes, and I think what we also did, we also tried certain things where we saw, okay, that crashed us against the wall, or where we were looking into other areas, or where we got to know other areas where we said, oh, that's interesting, and we saw how that worked and what kind of effect that took. And then we just brought it into our inner circle, and we and then also with our guests that come twice a year, we brought them in because we knew they were interested, and we just saw what kind of effect that has if you're going to look at all these different areas and to say, hey, we have to start in this regard, in that regard, and on top, the ones that are really experimental, we're going to put purpose on top of it. Yeah. So it was really that, not a trial and error, I wouldn't say, because actually these things that we have, they have been there for a long time, very many years. It's just they have not been included in the complementary medicine as it is. So to make it short, on the one side, because of the client cases or patient cases that we have seen, that we could do the perfect medical treatments, but there was still this cherry missing on the top. I don't know if you say that in English. There's still something missing on the top that we couldn't crack. And then by just like our own experience, we were able to bring that, to open that that area.
I think that's perfect. You know what it reminds me of? It's like you, again, probably some of your clients, you hear of these individuals that they reach all of these worldly metrics for success. They've got the cars, they've got the house, they've got the money, and yet they're still miserable. And a lot of it is because they were missing their purpose all along. And that's why you hear of the person that is, has a vocation where they don't make that much money. They don't have a big house. They drive old cars, but they're just ecstatically happy. They love life. It's because they have found their purpose, and they realize, kind of like what we say over here a lot, is like they're out of the matrix. They've kind of they're living in this real world that's not defined by material things and all this. They've really figured out something bigger, which is their purpose. So it totally makes sense to me how you would get an overachiever or somebody that's trying to apply all of their business success to their health success, and yet finds out that, one, it's not working, and I'm miserable, I'm stressed out. And you guys help them uncover, well, wait a minute, again, like if I had come to see you, Jason, why are you training as though you're preparing for an Ironman when you don't have to do that? Just relax. You're chilling for you're focus on, and this is where I want to go next, is this like, what is the difference between extending lifespan and in extending a life or creating a life that's worth expanding? I think that's what people miss sight of. It's like, if you're just if you're miserable, then why would you want it to go on any longer than possible, as opposed to focusing on what a quality life is? Let's focus on that first, and then let's get healthy for that life. Am I kind of getting your philosophy here?
Yes, definitely. So for us, it's definitely get the life that's worth living for, and I know lifespan, health span, that's all out there, but it's really, if like you said, I think you said it all, huh? If you don't like the life that you live, what's the point?
Right.
What's the point? And that's for us. all of that has all of that is intertwined, so that all of that is interconnected, and you just have to see what is currently blocking and what should I actually address first, and that is so individual that you cannot really like put a standardized head on it. Perfect. Now let's just say I want to kind of know what your modality is. Like if all of a sudden a friend of mine, they refer, like I'm in the States, they say, Jason, I just came from Basel, Switzerland. I went to this clinic. It changed my life. You've got to go. What kind of, take me through the patient journey as they, even beforehand. Is there something that happens beforehand, a questionnaire, kind of get a history, kind of what is the process for those folks that are coming to see you guys? Right. So for the ones that come and just want to test us out for a few days, that's different than our 1 year longevity program. But for the ones that come and want to test us out for a few days, basically what we always ask first is, are there any medical records existing? And please explain us what is your current need. Is it that you're looking at it preventively, or is there like a specific health concern? Is it that there's a health concern and nobody knows what it is? Whatever it is. So we first are receiving as much information as possible. If somebody doesn't have it, usually the ones that come to us, they have a stack of files, that we can go through. But if somebody doesn't have it, it's no problem. Then we ask a lot of questions. So we will ask them on various areas, but we don't go right away into the emotions or anything like that, because that's not comfortable for everybody to share just with a stranger, right? So once we get that information, we look at it in our team to say, can we actually help that person? Because there's no need for a person to travel to us if we see, the benefit that we can give is very limited. And here I have to say we're very German, very conservative. So we are more always giving something on the lower end, just to say that if that person really wants to travel that far to come over here. So then once the person says, yes, I want to come, then they come here. Yes.
No, I just want to add this, manage the expectations.
Yes.
That's very important for us.
Yeah.
All our guests come from all over the world, from the US, from Asia, from the Middle East, wherever they are living. And we don't want to let someone fly in and then let them sit down and tell him or her, we're really sorry. I mean, that's going to be a hard case. We cannot help you.
For sure. Yeah, so what we do is once they arrive, we only have that person, that couple or that family or friends with friends. We only have them for that time. So there's nobody else. We don't have a waiting room. We don't have like a specific timing to say, okay, in 2 hours, you're going to be out. And then once they arrive, we're going to start like really like the assessments to understand. I actually don't want to say this now because now everybody would know if they would come. Oh, she's already looking at me. Maybe you can delete that later. You got it. Okay, well, so anyways, we talk a lot. We hear their side of the story, because the thing is, you can look at a lot of lab values, a lot of MRIs, It's not the same as when you talk to a person, to really understand when, what, why, how do you feel about it? Is that actually important to you?
Yeah.
Your doctor may have said, hey, this is so important, but the person says, well, I don't care, I can live with it. So we're getting that. And then we're going to do like a deep medical check. We're also doing some ultrasonic, we do some computerized testing, we do some blood work, and we bring the whole pieces of the puzzle together.
Also, we touch the patient to really, I mean, this is a 360 degree for us, to really see what's going on. We're not treating just an MRI picture or an X-ray picture. We want to treat the patient, the guest.
Right. And then once we have all that information together with the wish of the guest, we then decide, okay, what are your priorities? Okay. And then while the person is there, and depending if we see, hey, there's something that's actually blocking, we go and always are on the side and we talk a lot. We see, sometimes we have founders of huge companies and they just come here for 5 days and they like to just be there without anything, and they say that's when they create their next strategy or whatever, because they just have the time to sit, be outside of their usual business, and just use this and enjoy that, So we either talk a lot or we don't talk a lot, depending on how that person is, and then they undergo the treatment, which takes 1 to 3 days, depending on, for some that they want to come 5 days. And after that, we're going to put together medical reports and all the details. So when they go back to their doctors, that they have it at hand. So we don't keep them. They are not ours to keep, right? They need to go into discussion with their doctor so they can speak about it. So here we're very transparent to also guide them, that they are empowered, they are able to speak about what their situation is.
And then are you going to get some like biomarkers? Are you going to put them on a DEXA? Are you going to do blood panels? Are you going to do these sorts of things? Or is it like, is it the same for everybody? Is it like a full suite of services? How does that work?
No, it's definitely not the same for everybody. So first of all, we get already the blood work on hand that they have.
Okay.
It might be that we have some questions there, maybe already in their country or wherever they are, we ask them to go to their next lab.
If they can.
Or ask their concierge to make this, whatever. And once they're with us, we already have, most of the time, several hundred biomarkers that we need to figure out and see which one can we put aside and which one do we need to look deeper. And then, of course, we also do blood work on our side and try.
And then we have the computerized testing with it, ultrasonic. We always see what they are coming for, what their priorities are, and that's where we adjust it. But like a blood panel is never the same.
Sure.
It's always different.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, Jason.
Well, I was going to say, I want to talk about the book specifically. For the listener out there, they've heard all these things about the clinic, your philosophy. Now let's talk about Unlongevity and what is the reader going to take from the book? And I mentioned the 5 pillars or the kind of the framework, and I'll repeat that again: biology, cognition, emotion, energy, and purpose. So is this book meant to be more of a book of reference and kind of, here is the what, here is the how, and here is, the result you should see? Like, how's the book laid out? And if you've got some examples on these segments of the framework, please, what's the reader going to get from this book?
Right. So for sure, what the book is not, it's not a protocol book. It's a framework that we use with every client at VimedCell. But you cannot say that whatever is in the book, this is what I'm going to follow. Not at all, because what we want to make sure is that you are aware that everything has to be looked at individually. So even if we mention certain axes, it's not that everybody will approach them in the same way. It's just to raise the awareness and to maybe say, hey, how about we're going to take a step back and look at all the things that we are doing, and then to see, is there something maybe that we could reduce? Is there something that is really important for me? Just to make this exercise, that you go through it, and especially nowadays a lot. It's really has become deeply fragmented, and the fragmentation is harming the very people it claims to help. So high performers are spending enormous time, money, and mental energy on protocols that aren't producing coherent outcomes. And I would say the core message is the goal was never is not really to live longer, like you said before, right? It is to live more completely with clarity, vitality, purpose, and presence. And those are, I don't even like to say it's not about optimization. Those are really targets that you want to achieve for your life, to live a good life.
I like that.
And I think also one thing was we wrote it now because this longevity market has really exploded and there's so much noise out there.
Yes.
And we think people need a framework for discernment. So for deciding what actually serves them, well, at this stage in their life, everybody is at a different stage. So, and given who they actually are. So,
So I think, sorry, maybe just one. I think just to be clear, we didn't write it as a protocol book. So we wrote really to give a perspective shift. And for CEOs, especially, that perspective shift can change every health decision that follows.
Right.
I think it's fantastic, and I totally get it, because it seems to me like protocols have become kind of like, and this is coming from the co-founder and CEO of a nutraceutical company. I always tell people when they ask me what supplement should I take, I'm like, well, I don't know. I haven't seen your blood work. And by the way, our company was started because my physician partner was tired of so many of his patients leaving with just 18 bottle caps of all these things that are overwhelming. And then, you know, Andreas, you talk about the noise. You listen to podcasts all the time, and Andrew Huberman says that NMN is kind of the game changer for him. So some, you know, person out in Spokane, Washington says, well, then if Andrew Huberman takes it, I need it. Well, it might work for him, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And then before long, they're overwhelmed with these supplements in their pantry that they have no idea why they bought them or what they do. And I think it's the same thing with protocols. You know, you make yourself miserable because you're like, okay, I got the cold plunge today, but I didn't do the sauna today. And then, oh my gosh, I didn't do my HIIT exercise, but then there's zone 2 exercise that I've got to do. And, oh, you know, it's like, oh, and my sleep score was terrible. So do I work out? Don't I work out? It's just, it gets overwhelming. So I totally get it. And so I think that this has I mean, and I tell you, it's for people that have been doing this for years to try to start kind of getting down to the necessities. And again, I love your take on the fact that when I say get down to the set necessities, I don't mean the necessities for universally, the necessities for you as an individual, based on your purpose, based on your goals. Why are you wanting to do this? I think that's incredibly critical. But also, what an amazing tool this book will be for someone who's listening to this podcast for the first time, and they're because they're trying to get in shape. They know they want to get healthier, but they don't even know where to begin. You guys are sending the message that, hey, before you get out there and just start trying all this crazy stuff that you hear about, let's learn a little bit about you and what your real goals and purpose are, and then build your protocols specifically for you and your purpose. I love that message.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, okay, now let me ask you this. So whenever people read this, are they going to find some things like, let's say that they read through here and they go, biology, got my blood work done. It's awesome. It's pristine. Cognition, I feel good. I mean, I don't have clarity of thought or whatever, but emotionally, that's where I'm struggling. And I know that I've got some anger issues or frustrations, whatever. Are there things in there that help them kind of whittle down to that emotional component? And then are there some tools and tactics to tackle whatever that emotional issue might be? Maybe they're grieving. Maybe it's they're stressed out at work and it's causing some emotional tension. Are there some tactics that they can drill down on? And then whether it's meditation, breath work, are there some tools and tactics that they may want to experiment with from the book?
Well, so for us, what this book is just to first create awareness of what to look at. So if they come already to that point where they say, hey, emotionally, that's the problem, I think that's already a huge achievement. And the thing is, yes, we do have our recommendations, but why we did not put any specific things in the book is because everybody is already on a journey. They are already doing things where they say, this makes me feel good, you know, or this is something where I say that I have trust to. And for us, what we wanted to make sure is we don't have the golden formula, you know. It's like if you do already something in this area, keep on doing it if it makes you feel good, but maybe strip away all the other things that you're doing on top that is taking your energy away of the one thing that's actually good. So that's why for us it's really important also for people, if they have someone already that they are very close with and that make them feel good, stay with that one. You don't need to come to us. You know, that's not the goal of the book. The goal of the book is just to say, hey, just please look at your individual situation, what life phase you're on. Are you like just getting out of university? Are you just like getting kids? Are you just already a CEO who's going to retirement? Are you someone that gives the company to their children, you know, a legacy or whatever? No matter what, look at the life phase you're in, and then you can go and dig deeper. But that is the objective, you know, to first say, hey, take a step back and look what is good for me, and take away the things that are not good for you.
I think that's fantastic advice. You know, it's funny that we're having this conversation because it might have been this morning, I was on my rower and I was thinking back to the ancient Greeks and, you know, the first real athletes. And I'm looking around at my garage gym where I've got some really cool stuff. I've got all the cool equipment. I'm thinking, those guys were just shredded and lean, and they didn't have any of this stuff that I have. So I can't need all these different things. And so that's why I was so excited to have you guys on, because I'm to that point where I'm really trying to limit it down. I just read an article here recently about, like, one thing you should do if you just did 30 push-ups every day, that, 30 push-ups and then some walking. And that's one of the things that I do try to tell people is, like, look, when's the last time you went for a long walk? Not just for physical health, but your cognitive health. No music, no nothing. Just get along with your thoughts. Arthur Brooks, who's a Harvard professor, he's written a book, The Purpose of Your Life, that I just read recently, and I've talked about on my other podcast, The Jason Wright Show. And one of the things that he mentions is that it's so hard for people to just be bored and be alone with their thoughts.
Right.
But those are the things that's not biohacking. That's just sit and be a human for a little while and just relax. And so I think that's the message I'm getting from you guys. It's like, clear away the unnecessary and only leave the essential, but not just the essential for everybody, the essential personally for you and your plan. And so that to me is a great message that I think everyone can benefit from.
Great.
All right. So but before I leave you, I got to know again, August 11th. I got that right. Where can people, that's when the book comes out? Okay. All right. Got it right. All right. Now, and how can where will people be able to pick up the book? And then how can people follow your work and connect with you guys? How does that happen?
So, well, if the conversation we just had resonates, Unlongevity is, I would say, for us, the next step. So you can find us on the unlongevity.com, unlongevity.com. And as Ramona just said, it's not a protocol book. It's the framework that we use with every guest at VimedCell. And for CEOs who's already investing in their health and wants to make those investments actually land, this is what we think is the missing piece. I mean, again, what Ramona said, we cannot walk over water. We don't have the golden formula. I mean, but this is what
Ramona said, speak for yourself, Andreas. It's no problem for her.
Okay, so Ramona can walk over water.
Of course.
I'm not yet.
I love it.
So unlongevity.com, that's where people can find out more about us and the book.
Well, terrific. And, and like I said, I'm thinking that we need to do a live interview in Switzerland at some point. I think I need to come out and see the facility. That's I think we owe it to the listeners that I go to Switzerland.
Yes. Yes, I think so too.
I agree. All right. Well, guys, I told you this would be fun and easy. You guys crushed it. This is amazing. I hope the book does well. I will have all the information on it in the show notes, and you guys are welcome back anytime. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jason. Pleasure was on our side.
The content provided in this podcast, The Healthy CEO, is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The opinions expressed by our hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Healthy CEO. Any information provided by our hosts or guests, including any physicians who may appear on the podcast, is solely for informational purposes and does not create any doctor-patient relationship. Listeners are advised to consult with their healthcare providers before making any changes to their health routines. The Healthy CEO and its affiliates assume no responsibility or liability for any consequence resulting directly or indirectly from any action or inaction you take based on the information provided in this podcast.